Devi Kuravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavani Nistya Jaya Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasani Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Hare
Radhaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Charamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauramani Pracharane Nivase Sarasanyavadi Prasvakti Devi Om Ganataminam Bhatsya Janardana Salakaya Chaksu Savanatam Vena Tasmai Sri Guru Brahma Sri Caitanya Manabhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Mancha Kalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivaccha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Hare Krishna. Good morning. Prasadama, are you okay? Do you need some prasadam? Or you already had breakfast? Okay. Did you already take some prasadam too? Good. You? No. You? Yes? Okay, I also took something. So we were speaking about the installation of the Gopal deity in the shelter of Giriraj Govardhan, where the deity was found. And maybe just a teeny bit up. I don't know, please. That's maybe too, no? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, who remembers the beginning of the pastime? Madhavendra Puri was wandering in Braja, and then what happened?
The boy came to him with pot of milk.
Yes, continue.
And because Madhavendra Puri, he would just eat what people gave him, he wouldn't ask. So this boy came to him with a pot of milk for him to eat, and he asked, who are you? And the boy explained he came from the village, and the people that asked him to give some milk to Madhavendra Puri, so...
And this boy was very special looking.
Yeah.
He was a Gopal. He was a Gopa. He was a cowherd boy from the village of, just in the immediate area on the Or. And then what happened when Madhavendra Puri, chanting and chanting and chanting, then took a little rest towards the end of the night? Then
the boy came to him in a dream and told him that he was living in a bush.
Okay, and then? And then what happened the next morning?
And then Madhavendra Puri he got people from the village to come and help him to take...
They found the deity.
Yeah.
They excavated, so to speak, the deity. Now, what important point do we learn from this? There are 3 different appearances of Krishna. Right? What was the first one?
The boy.
The boy, so that was Krishna the boy.
Brought milk.
And then the second one was in the dream. Krishna actually came in his dream. And the third one, Krishna was in the form of the deity of Sri Gopal Nathji. Now, are there 3 different Krishnas or one Krishna there? There's one Krishna. So what very important point for all devotees is to be learned here. Now, this point is going to be continued throughout this whole chapter and into the next chapter as well, because the next chapter is about Shakshi Gopal. And there the story is even, the pastime is even more amazing. But there's more points about the deity here. And what is the point?
That all the different forms of Krishna are the same.
Yeah, that means that Krishna is actually there in the deity form. Now, what's the difference between Krishna in the deity form and Krishna in the form of the cowherd boy who manifests himself? So we can look at it from different points of view, but just say any point of view, one of the points of view. Go ahead.
No difference.
There's no difference. But is there no difference?
He reveals himself to the eyes of those who are unable to see.
Right. So there's a difference, and yet there's a non-difference too. Or a non-difference and a difference. So the non-difference is Krishna can fully manifest himself through the form of the deity, and there's pastimes where he does that. And one of the pastimes will be spoken of in the next chapter. But there are other pastimes as well, with Raghunath Thakur, with Gauridas Pandit. So many pastimes, actually. But what is the difference? I've heard Prabhupada say this. He said that everyone knows the deity is made out of stone, speaking about a stone deity. But if you think that the deity is only stone, that is offense, that is aparat, that is incorrect, that is missing the point. So in the material world which we live in, and in the material world where we don't have the capacity, us poor unfortunate conditioned souls don't have the capacity to see Krishna in his spiritual form. Not only don't we have the capacity to see Krishna in his spiritual form, we don't have the qualification to see Krishna in his spiritual form. Because with Madhavendra Puri, he was so absorbed in his love for Krishna, so fully absorbed in that Krishna was watching him, observing him continuously. So, for those of us who don't have the deepest of qualifications to see Krishna, we're not in the spiritual world, where there's one saying by one in the Padavali of Srila Rupa Goswami. He says, there's one great devotee says, being separate from Krishna is better than being with Krishna. Because when you're with Krishna, you see one Krishna, and when you're separate from Krishna, you see Krishna in every place you look, everywhere. That type of a mood is a fully Krishna conscious lover of Krishna's mood. But if one doesn't have that experience of being separated from Krishna, in the material world, the conditioned soul has the experience of being separated from Krishna, and he doesn't see Krishna anywhere. And what to speak of seeing him everywhere? He doesn't see him anywhere, and he doesn't even care. I don't see Krishna anywhere, and I don't care. I don't want to see him anywhere, and therefore I don't see him anywhere. So then there's the case, so there's this person who's qualified in the spiritual world. What's the qualification? Love for Krishna. Fully love for Krishna. And then in the material world, the qualification for being in the material world is Krishna Bhule Se Jeev. Turned our back on Krishna. We don't want to have a relationship with him. But then there are souls who are in the material world, but they've decided, I want to have a relationship with Krishna. And those souls are called sadhakas. They're practitioners. They're not qualified to be in the spiritual world yet. but they don't really want to be separated from Krishna. So how can a person who doesn't have love for Krishna become transformed into a person who does have his love for Krishna and can be with Krishna? And the answer to that is the process of Krishna consciousness called sadhana bhakti, the practices of Krishna consciousness, sadhana bhakti, which are described in great detail by Srila Rupa Goswami and Bhakti-Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion. The practices. And one of the main practices is worship of the deity. Because the deity form, the vigraha, the archa vigraha, is Krishna, not different from Krishna, but comes in a way that those who are not qualified to see Krishna in the spiritual world can see him in the material world. And not only see him in the material world, but also serve him, practice serving him while still in the material world. So, part of the practices of serving the deity is making all the arrangements for a festival for the deity, for Krishna, for Gopal, for Gopinath. So because Gopal, we will hear very soon, not today, but soon, that Gopal and Gopinath are the same. This is the second message that will come, that all the different forms of Krishna, deity forms, archa vigraha forms, they're the same Krishna. Very important messages, very important instructions, very important information. Because if we actually see, accept, experience the deity form as Krishna, then we could serve in the proper mood. The impersonalists, when they see the deity form of Krishna, what do? They serve the deity form of Krishna, but their mood is so different from that of a devotee. Why do they serve the form of Krishna? And this is explained in Srila Sridhar Swami's commentary on perhaps the Shangatapani Upanishad or something. Because they feel empty being an impersonalist. That's why. Even if one is an impersonalist, one is longing, because impersonal realization, you can't do anything, you're lonely. And that's how Prabhupada once answered the question that was present in New Vrindavan in 1969. Someone asked the question to Prabhupada, we were just sitting in his room in New Vrindavan, and someone asked the question, do impersonalists sometimes fall down from their realization, or do they always fall down from their realization? And Prabhupada said, always. And then the devotee asked, why do they always fall down? And Prabhupada thought of a very practical way to answer that question that was easy to understand. And his answer was, because they get lonely. Because it's unnatural. So similarly, the impersonalist sannyasis, they get lonely and they want to worship, and they're attracted to Krishna, even though it's against their philosophy in one sense. But still they would install deities of Krishna. But their mood of worship is very different from that of a Vaishnava, a devotee. The mood of their worship of the deity is, oh, I'll worship the deity now because maybe I'm not pure enough, I'm not deep enough in my impersonal realization. But then, after some time, no more deity worship, I become the deity, practically speaking. I become the Supreme. So that type of worship is that love. If you're in the office serving your boss and your goal is to remove him and become the boss, then that's usually what happens. But it's not. There's no devotion there. There's no love. It's just ambition, material ambition at that. To serve the deity, to become the deity. The example that's usually given is that if you're trying to climb a fence that's very high, what are you looking for, Braj Mohan?
Nothing. I was just seeing if I dropped something in my bag.
A cobra? What?
Because I dropped something yesterday. I'm not sure if I got all of it.
You want to go and take a look and see? Okay. Okay. So if there's a fence that's very high and you can't climb over it, what is the easiest way if you want to get to the other side? You get give you a hint, it begins with an L. A ladder, yes. And then, so this is compared to what the impersonalists do. They use the deity like a ladder to climb to the top of the fence. And then when they're at the top of the fence, they kick the ladder away. They don't need it anymore. And then they climb over to the other side. So that is not love, that is not devotion. So, and that's what a devotee, a Vaishnava, is trying to develop, an actual loving relationship with Krishna. So, after the festival, the Lord was laid down to rest on the bed. They made a bed for him. Madhavendra Puri gathered all the Brahmins who had prepared the prasadam and said to them, "Now feed everyone sumptuously, from the children up to the aged." You and me. Everyone else, never mind. At least we'll get our prasadam sumptuously. You also, Navkishore and Vasudama. All the people gathered there sat down to honor the prasadam. So, okay, they also can take. And by they took food. All the brahmanas and their wives were fed first. Okay. And Prabhupada in his purport says, this is always the system, and it's followed today, even in India. Even if the Brahmins are not qualified, they are given prasadam first to show them some deference, some honor. Continuing. Those who took prasadam included not only the people of Govardhan village, but also those who came from other villages. They also saw the deity of Gopal, and they were also offered prasadam to eat, because when there's prasadam distribution, it should be done in a very wonderful way. Seeing the influence of Madhavendra Puri, because just remember, what is the influence of Madhavendra Puri? He just arrived there, he had the dream, they took out the deity, they excavated, found the deity one day, and that same day, this huge festival was performed with the cooking, with the deity put there, the bathing, the abhishek, and feeding of prasadam to everyone. So this is influence. This is the English word for this type of influence is called charisma. And do you know what charisma means?
Yes.
Okay, what does it mean? You're not quite sure? Or you do want to know what it means?
Not exactly how to explain it.
I can tell you. Power. It means power, personal power. Charismatic person is a person who has power, and it's clear, and when people look at him, they see that he has power. And that power attracts, because power is attractive. So Madhavendra Puri was so charismatic. He was so powerful, and when you have power, you have influence. Yes? Who's that? Are you convinced? Yes? Yeah. And look what he did without therefore, Krishna Shakti Naivina Tarpavartana. Without power, you can't, without Krishna Shakti, you can't preach, you can't do anything, practically speaking. One needs to be empowered, like Prabhupada was so empowered, he was so inspired by that power. Inspired that he knew that Krishna was using him, working through him. But he didn't think, I'm the one doing it. He didn't take the credit himself, even though he was doing it on one level, but Krishna was doing it through him. So seeing the influence of Madhavendra Puri, all the people gathered there. They were struck with wonder. Did you ever get struck with a leaf?
Probably.
Huh?
Probably.
Yeah. Did you ever get struck with wonder?
Yeah.
Which one hurt more? Neither of them. Okay. They saw that the Anakuta ceremony, which had been performed before during the time of Krishna, was now taking place again by the mercy of Sri Madhavendra Puri. So the Govardhan Puja, where the whole Anakut Chetra, the whole area from, almost the whole area from the village of Anayor to the town of Govardhan was filled with food to offer to Govardhan on the order of Krishna. So that was all done by the power of Krishna. So the people thought, this is just like the original Govardhan Puja. This is so amazing that it all happened. Yes, not this. It was by the power of Madhavendra Puri. So now Prabhupada in his purport, he's going to tell us about this this Govardhan festival, which we all remember so very carefully because it just happened so recently. Formerly, at the end of Dwapara Yuga, all the cowherd men of Vrindavan had arranged to worship Lord Indra. But they gave this worship up, following the advice of Krishna. Yes, you have to face me so I can call on you sometimes. Instead, they performed the ceremony by which they worshiped the cows, the Brahmins, and Govardhan Hill. At that time, Krishna expanded himself, and he declared, I am Govardhan Hill. In this way, he accepted all the paraphernalia and food offered to Govardhan Hill. He assumed a huge form and he ate it. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 24th chapter, the 24th chapter, and then I won't read the Sanskrit, but I'll read the English. This was the order that Krishna had given. Prepare very nice food of all descriptions from the grains and ghee collected for the Indra Jagya. Prepare rice, dal, and halava, pakora, puris, and all kinds of milk preparations like sweet rice, sweet balls, sandesh, rasgulla, and laddu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna therefore advised the cowherd men to stop the Indra Jagya and begin the Govardhan Puja for the purpose of chastising Indra, who was very much puffed up at being the supreme controller of the heavenly planets. So what does chastise mean?
Punish.
Punish, yeah. Or one step before, verbally, he wanted to chastise. How would you say?
Admonish.
Rebuke.
Admonish.
Admonish.
Correcting.
Yes. For the purpose of correcting. Admonish. Got it? You remember your last vocabulary lesson? Yes. Okay. Calm. Tranquil. Very good. Very good. You are a scholar. Sometimes there's a saying, you're a gentleman and a scholar. But you're not a gentleman and a scholar, you're a gentle lady and a scholar. So how about chastise, was it? No, to chastise Indra. Admonish. You admonish, chastise. Do you like it when someone admonishes you? Corrects you?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, good. Remember now, she said it. We have it recording this, and later we'll play it back for you. But listen to this. Who was very much, because Indra was very much puffed up. Puffed up means proud. What is the term puffed up? Where does it come from? It's actually a British term. We never heard of it before we heard Prabhupada say it. But where does it come from? The way we understood it. Do you know? Like when you have...
rice becomes puffed.
Well...
Puri.
Puris more. Or chapatis, but puris. So when you roll it out flat and then it becomes filled, it becomes round. You've made puris, or you've seen them being made? And chapatis, yeah? But what's inside? Just air, nothing really. It looks so,
Hot air.
Hot air, yes. So it looks like it's so big and round, but it's actually very small because all inside is hot air. That's talk, perhaps. So Indra was very much puffed up at being the supreme controller of the heavenly planets. He had actual power, but when you have power, one should understand that it is a gift. And one shouldn't become proud. The honest and simple cowherd men, headed by Nanda Maharaj, accepted Krishna's proposal and executed in detail everything that he advised. They performed Govardhan worship and circumambulation of the hill. According to the instruction of Lord Krishna, Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men called in learned brahmanas and began to worship Govardhan hill by chanting Vedic hymns and offering prasadam. The inhabitants of Vrindavan assembled together, decorated their cows, and gave them grass. Keeping the cows in front, they began to circumambulate Govardhan hill. Now, why? They cooked so much food, and they fed everyone, but why did they give the cows only grass? Why didn't they give them sweet rice and...
Because they like grass.
Yeah, because that's the food of cows. They like grass. Did you ever try to give a cow a samosa or something like that? No, because you know what they do? They smell it and say, no thank you. And you give them some soft grass, but they like bowls of jaggery also, but not too many, which is a lesson for all of us. Continuing. All the Brahmins present on that occasion were initiated by Sri Madhavendra Puri into the Vaishnava cult, and Madhavendra Puri engaged them in different types of services. And Prabhupada, in his purport, he speaks about what the basic services of Brahmins are, and the basic service is teaching, learning, performing sacrifices, teaching others how to perform the ceremonies, and accepting charity and giving charity. And then Prabhupada also speaks about the Brahmins before that even though they may be born in a Brahmin family or maybe Brahmins, they have to be initiated as Vaishnavas before they can worship the deity. And Prabhupada says, all the servitors of the deity must be strictly qualified as Brahmanas, and specifically, they must engage in the Vaishnava custom of offering as much prasadam as possible and distributing it to the devotees who visit the temple to see the Lord. Continuing. After taking rest, the deity must be awakened at the end of the day, and immediately some food and some water must be offered to him. When it was advertised throughout the country, throughout all the area in Braja, when it became known that Lord Gopal had appeared atop Govardhan Hill, all the people from neighboring villages came to see the deity. This is the culture. They were all eager to see the deity. Why? Because they knew this deity is Krishna, and Krishna in such a form, in such a way that we can serve him. Because the mood was that I want to serve Krishna. I want to serve everyone, practically speaking, but I want to serve Krishna. Such a different mood than the mood nowadays, where no one wants to serve. Sometimes and everyone is forced to serve, but no one wants to serve. It's not the innermost desire of people is how I can serve in general. But this is what we are meant to do in this world. It's unavoidable, in fact. But this is what a soul in this world is meant to do. Not only in this world, but that's the Sanatana Dharma, the eternal constitutional position of everyone is to serve Krishna. And because it's our dharma, our constitutional position, we can't avoid serving. But as conditioned souls, bewildered by false ego, ahankara vamudama, instead of serving, what does a conditioned soul want to do? What does a conditioned soul want to do instead of serving?
Become the ruler.
Become the ruler, the supreme manager, the boss, the enjoyer, because he's considering that if I rule, I can really enjoy. Ishwaraham, I am the controller. Aham bhogi, because when we can control, we can enjoy. Siddhaham, and why should I enjoy? Because Siddhaham, I am perfect. This is called illusion, Maya. So when it was advertised, all the people from neighboring villages came to see the deity. One village after another was pleased. Listen to this, it's so amazing. This is the mood of Braja. One village after another, one ekadina, ekakagram. One village after another was pleased to beg Madhavendra Puri to allot them, to give them one day to perform the Anakuta ceremony. Please allow us to serve. This is the greatest fortune, to be able to serve the Supreme Lord. And this is how Prabhupada originally translated the Hare Krishna Mahamantra for his young disciples. Please, O Lord, O Krishna, O Srimati Radharani, please allow me to serve you. O Lord, O energy of the Lord, please allow me to serve you. Please allow me to serve you. Please allow me to serve you. I want to serve you. I'm so tired of my attempt one after the next to place myself in the center and have everyone serve me. No, now I want to serve you. Please allow me to serve you. This is the great honor. Please allow me to serve you. So thus, day after day, the Anakuta ceremony was performed for some time. So this huge festival, this huge feast, day after day, the whole village, one village after the next, had this desire, and Madhavendra Puri granted them their wish. Sri Madhavendra Puri did not eat anything throughout the day, because this is the first day of the first ceremony of the installation. But he didn't eat anything. Why? Because he was so busy serving. But at night, after laying the deity down to rest, he took a milk preparation, meaning he ate it. And the next morning, the rendering of service to the deity began again. and people from one village arrived with all kinds of food grains. The inhabitants of the village brought the deity of Gopal as much food grains, ghee, yogurt, and milk as they had in their village. They emptied the village, they emptied their stocks to give to the deity, and they thought, this is our greatest fortune. And Prabhupada, again in his purport, speaks about the Krishna consciousness movement. I'll read a little bit of it. Here we can see the difference between the East and the West. The people who came to see the deity brought all kinds of food to offer the deity. They brought all the food they had in stock, and they came before the deity, not only to accept prasadam for themselves, but to distribute it to others. The Krishna consciousness movement vigorously approves the practice of preparing food, offering it to the deity, and distributing it to the general population. This activity should be extended universally. Why? To stop sinful eating habits as well as other behaviors befitting only demons. Terrible eating habits and other improper, sinful activities that give the person who performs these activities so much suffering. And people in ignorance, and they don't even know what they're causing themselves, what to speak of the suffering they're causing an animal by killing it, just to eat it because I like to eat it. Just imagine if it's even inconceivable that why do people eat animals? Because they like the taste of them. But what happens if someone said, well, I like the taste of you? How would you feel? Well, I know how you'd feel. You'd feel like you want to run as fast as you possibly can. But what a horrible way to think. Just because I like it, I want to do it. Therefore, I will do it. And I don't care who suffers, who is in distress. And by that attitude, the person who thinks in that way himself gets so much suffering because of the law of karma, and it's a law that's unbreakable. A demonic civilization will never bring peace within the world. Since eating is the first necessity in human society, those engaged in solving the problems of preparing and distributing food should take lessons from Madhavendra Puri and execute the Anakut ceremony. When the people take to eating only prasadam offered to the deity, all the demons will be turned into Vaishnavas. When the people are Krishna conscious, naturally the government will also be Krishna conscious. A Krishna conscious man is also always very liberal, a liberal and well-wisher of everyone. His vision is very, very big, who he wants to help. Once, and Prabhupada actually said it, and it says this in his introduction to the Nectar of Devotion, and he gave this as a message to the devotees in Tokyo who were having a big program in 1970 to address the people of Japan, and Prabhupada sent a message to the people of Japan, and part of the message was that we all have a loving tendency, and when we're a baby, where is that loving tendency placed?
In food.
Huh?
In food.
And who's the personification of food? Mother. So the first love is of mother. And then it expands to father, then brothers and sisters, and then the family. And then the community. So Prabhupada was explaining like this. But if we keep expanding that loving tendency up to the point of our community, then our nation, and then even if we expand our tendency to love to every person in the whole world, or even more than that, every living entity, every creature in this world, including the animals and the birds and the grains and the plants and trees, even if we expand our tendency to love to include all the life within the world, it's still that the tendency to love will not be satisfied, because we need to love Krishna. And loving Krishna is like watering the root of the tree, and trying to love individual living entities is like trying to water the leaves one by one by one by one. It's not the proper way to give nourishment to the leaves. The proper way is by watering the root of the tree. So Prabhupada gave that message to the people of Japan and to the people of the world, that if we want to satisfy our tendency to love, which is natural, we should learn how to love Krishna. And Prabhupada is explaining that that distributing prasadam, and distributing knowledge, of course, but prasadam is something that everyone can take and appreciate. Then it purifies the heart. And if someone decides, I'm only going to take prasadam first, food first offered to Krishna, that will stop their sinful eating activities that they're going to suffer for later on, because they're violent. And it will also purify their heart, and gradually their other improper activities will stop as well. So the next day there was an Annakuta ceremony, almost as before, and all the Brahmins prepared food and Gopal accepted them. The ideal place to execute Krishna consciousness is Brajabhumi, or Vrindavan, where the people are naturally inclined to love Krishna, and Krishna is naturally inclined to love them. Brajavasi lokeda Krishna sahaja puriti, Gopalera sahaja puriti Brajavasi prati. There's just a natural tendency that's born of the atmosphere of Braja, of Vrindavan, that it makes one very much inclined to love Krishna. And Krishna is very inclined to reciprocate and to love the people who love him, the Brijvasis. Now excuse me, I'll just find out the time. Okay, let me just ask if there's any questions. Thank you. And if there's a purport of Srila Prabhupada's to this, and if anyone have any questions or comments? No? No?
Actually, yes.
Yes.
I was thinking about, when you're talking about how all the forms of Krishna are the same, thinking about how in the gallery we have like the Rasa Leela with all the different Krishnas. And one time someone asked, someone said something like, I was talking about how Krishna expanded, and someone mentioned like the real Krishna. And I was thinking, no, actually there is no real Krishna, because they're all real. They're all the same.
Yeah.
It's not like he's tricking them by bringing like fake Krishnas. They're all real.
Yeah. Do you know the example given in the Brahma Samhita? Like this. If you have one candle, and there's an original candle, just like there's an original Krishna. There's all kinds of technical names for these. Swayam Rupa, Swayam Prakash, Swayam Vaibhav. So, but if you have one candle and you light a second candle and a from that one, and then a third candle from that first one. All the candles have the same power, even though there's an original. That's the example that's usually given by Lord Brahma. That reminds me of a question that I think Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur asked. When Krishna expanded himself into all the boys and the calves, the calves, you know that pastime is, then all the mothers of the boys, they loved their son, who was actually Krishna, more than they loved their own children. You know that? But then the question that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur asks is then how did they look at Krishna? Since their sons were Krishna, and Krishna was Krishna, did they love their sons at that time the same as they loved Krishna? Is that a puzzle?
Yes.
What do you think?
Probably the same.
Yeah, probably, but that's not the right answer. They love Krishna even more. Because Krishna is Krishna. Interesting? And that's the speciality of Braja, that everyone loves Krishna so much. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? What other questions do people ask you when you take them on the gallery tour? Do you take Westerners sometimes?
Sorry?
Do you take Westerners sometimes?
Yes, yeah. Sometimes in Jagannath Puri they ask about the cars and what they ask about, like how they make them sometimes, or I don't know.
Okay. Maybe I'll just read the last purport. There's a few more minutes. So it's such a wonderful verse that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj speaks. Braja Vasi Lokera Krishna Sahaja Pariti. They're naturally inclined to love Krishna, the Brijvasis. And then Gopalera Krishna Sahaja Pariti, same Braja Vasi Prati, that he's naturally inclined to love them. Because they love him in a special mood that only exists in Braja, and he loves them to reciprocate in that same mood. Here's Srila Prabhupada's purport. Now, as soon as I finish reading this, I'm going to ask you a question, and the question is going to be, what, if anything, struck you, or inspires you, or did you find especially interesting in this purport of Prabhupada's? You ready? Are you going to listen very carefully, young lady? Try your best, okay? In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 11, it is said, Ye tamam prapadyante tams tataiva bhajam yaham. There is a responsive cooperation between the Supreme Lord Krishna and his devotees. The more a devotee sincerely loves Krishna, the more Krishna reciprocates. So much so that a highly advanced devotee can talk with Krishna face to face. Krishna confirms this in the Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. The actual mission of human life is to understand Krishna. Excuse me. The actual mission of human life is to understand Krishna and return home, back to Godhead. Therefore, one who is sincerely engaged in the service of the Lord with love and faith can talk with Krishna and receive instructions by which he can speedily return home, back to Godhead. That's half the purport, but it's so important and so powerful that I'm just going to read half because I want to make sure we read it again next week. What did you think about that? Anything you find especially interesting? Yes.
We need to be focused.
What did you find specifically in the purport that was interesting?
That the more you love Krishna, the more he reciprocates. So if the focus is not there, then you will get carried away.
Thank you. Anyone else find anything interesting? Yes.
Relationship develops only through reciprocation.
Thank you. Anyone else? Abhinash Prabhu?
The mission is to know the Krishna, to love him. I mean, in this world, people have like the mission to become something, but here we see like the mission is to know the Krishna.
Yeah. That's the purpose of one's life, Prabhupada is saying. Thank you. Anyone else?
I'll actually Prabhupada use of the term responsive.
Can you speak more on that?
Krishna responds according to what the individual offers to him. Responds very personally.
So that implies also if you're not feeling enough response from Krishna, then if you want to get more response from Krishna, then you increase your love for Krishna and then you'll get more reciprocation. Did you raise your hand? Thank you. Anyone else like to say? Yes.
Cooperation and constant devotion.
Can't say more.
So if you cooperate and if you're constantly in a devotion, then that's the way you reciprocate from Krishna. So it depends on how much you determine in your sadhana.
Okay. You'd like to say more? Anyone else? Avi?
You have to do your part 100% with full intention and process properly, and rest I'm sure Krishna will definitely look after you.
You were saying before about how like someone thinks like the deity is made out of stone, and so on the fridge it talks about that also, how if you think that the deity is stone and Krishna reciprocates in that way, and it will just be stone for you. But if you think that it's Krishna, then Krishna reciprocates with that, and then also when you're saying that he talks to great devotees, so if you think of him as a real person, then he can actually talk to you, and you can actually talk to him.
You can actually hear him talking to you.
Face to face.
This is called personalism.
But also that you have to start it. You have to take the first step.
Are you sure? How about Krishna has already taken so many steps? I mean, in the sense that, is there any person who's alive that isn't depending on Krishna? For the air, for the food, for the workings of their blood and digestion. Are you the one making yourself digest your food? Just imagine if you got tired one day and you forgot to breathe or something like that. But Krishna makes it happen automatically. And he provides the air. He provides the ability to continuously breathe and your heart to beat, and he provides the air too, and the water, and we tend to pollute things, but he provides them in a clean way, and a systematic way that the water from the ocean is preserved by the salt, but we can't drink salt water, so then there's a system of evaporation and condensation in the form of rain, and then flowing down. So there's so many. So my point was that he's already taken some steps. Yeah.
I'd like to speak to him, because you first have to, if you want to speak to him, then you first have to understand that he's not made out of stone.
Yes. So this really comes up in the next chapter in a very strong way in the Saksha Gopal story. When the Brahmin said, you have to come as a witness, and he said, and the deity responded by saying, how could I walk? I'm a deity made out of stone. And then the Brahmin said, well, how can you talk? You're a deity made out of stone. So I know that you're not actually just made out of stone, you're the Supreme Lord, so please. Okay. As you like. Okay, we'll end here. Prasudama, are you tired? No, I didn't think so. You're just making believe you're tired. Okay, thank you very much. Sri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hare Hare.